All right, thanks for being here today. We are adjusting our run of show just a little bit. Nubia Pena and Councilmember Valdemoros are on their way. So I will speak short and first. Then you'll hear from Silvia Castro, the Executive Director of Suazo Business Center. Third, from Richard Jaramillo from Utah Coalition of La Raza. Fourth will be Mexican Consul José Borjón. Fifth, hopefully, Councilmember Valdemoros, and sixth, Nubia Pena, who's the director of the Utah Division of Multicultural Affairs in the Governor's Office, and seventh, Ballet Folklorico. And it's just wonderful to be here with so many of our friends and partners who build, celebrate, and create new pathways for our communities to thrive and celebrate one another, and also build our economy and build our cultural assets at the same time. From the strong families throughout Salt Lake City, local businesses, artists, entrepreneurs, teachers, public servants, the people who are represented by these partners who are with us today, and who we work as public servants at Salt Lake City to serve and represent, are wonderful and integral parts of who we are as a capital city. So I'm going to read a proclamation, and then I'll turn the time over to Silvia. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is observed September 15th through October 15th, celebrating Hispanic and Latino American people, cultures, achievements, and contributions. And whereas the observance began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week and was then expanded into a month-long celebration and officially enacted into federal law on August 17, 1988. And whereas several Latin American countries celebrate their independence anniversaries on September 15th, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, with Mexico and Chile celebrating their anniversaries on September 16th and September 18th, aligning the significance of the observance start date. And whereas the 2021 theme Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope, commemorates Hispanic heritage and honors the resiliency and hope of the Hispanic and Latino American community, a community that has faced deplorable hate and violence throughout history and in recent years, yet continues to stand together and hold on to hope for a better tomorrow. And whereas Hispanic and Latino Americans represent a significant and growing demographic of Salt Lake City, and we honor the invaluable ways that their traditions, customs, and communities have enhanced our great city, and whereas we invite all communities, businesses, and employees to take part in this year's Hispanic Heritage Month events and celebrations, now therefore, I, Erin Mendenhall, Mayor of Salt Lake City, proclaim September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month in Salt Lake City. Silvia?
Thank you, Mayor. I really want to thank the Salt Lake City, the state of Utah, Utah Coalition of La Raza, the Consulate of Mexico, and City Council people, and also City Council candidates. Thank you so much for being part of the kickoff for Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanic Heritage Month is an important reminder of the Latino heritage in the state of Utah. From the first Europeans to explore this region, to the many places and names and geographic names that we use in everyday life in our state, to the vast numbers of minority-run businesses and organizations in the region, our Hispanic and Latino communities have played a significant role in defining Utah. Starting today, on September 15, we celebrate the independence of several Latin American countries from Spain. This marks the beginning of a month of celebration of what it means to be Hispanic Latino in the Americas. Latin Americans have a powerful yet unique history in the state of Utah. These types of proclamations help to recognize the work our Hispanic communities put into making our society a better, more inclusive place. I am proud of my South American heritage, and I want my daughter and the sons and daughters of all immigrants to recognize and understand their heritage and where they came from. Recognizing and honoring Hispanic Heritage Month helps to ensure our legacies will live on. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Richard Jaramillo, and I'm honored to represent Utah Coalition of La Raza here today as we kick off National Hispanic Heritage Month. I'd like to thank Mayor Mendenhall for your leadership and in making equity a substantive issue in your administration and hosting this event. I'd also like to thank the Suazo Center, notably Silvia Castro and Edward Bennett, for organizing today's event here today. This month, we will see a number of events that offer our Latinx community, along with all Utahns, the opportunity to celebrate Hispanic culture and how it has enriched our American experience. Beyond the lively music, the wonderful food, and the incredible art that we often highlight, we should also take time this month to think deeper about Hispanic heritage. Heritage, rightly understood, is about what we inherit from those who came before us. That should include sharing our history, which, like much of American history, has both its high and low points. Yes, we should learn about America's history of colonization, displacement, exploitation, and violence, and its impact on our Indigenous and Latinx communities. We should also learn about inspirational figures, too, like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, and the progress we have made together. We should take time to understand that our Latinx community itself has many different experiences and histories that inform their heritage. We should honor Latinx contributions across every industry in Utah's economy. We should seek to find common humanity in shared values and similar traditions. Most importantly, while we should certainly take time to celebrate, we should also take time to reflect on the political, economic, and social conditions that our Latinx community face today and how we can work together to improve those conditions. Just last night, Utah's Legislative Redistricting Committee met in Rose Park. And despite the people of Utah creating an independent redistricting commission, the Legislative Committee asserted its authority to draw the political lines that impact all of our voices in our political system. UCLR was there to make a public comment to ask that our Latino communities not be divided by political gerrymandering so that our Latino voices could be heard and not diluted. The response we got was that the committee had removed racial and ethnic data from consideration. Refusing to consider race and ethnicity doesn't make you colorblind. When it comes to redistricting, it makes you community blind. As an advocate for our Latinx community, this is something we often encounter. Too often, the realities and lived experience of our Latinx communities, along with those of other racial and ethnic minorities, go ignored or dismissed. Hell, a big part of the pandemic and our politics is made worse because some folks refuse to accept realities. The point is, we should not bury our heads in the sand. We need to open our eyes to ongoing inequities and the legacies of our history. We must look at the world we have inherited and examine it in a new light, honestly and completely. So as we celebrate Hispanic heritage this month, I also ask that we think deeper about that heritage, that we think of history and the lived experience of our Latinx community, that we think of the world that we inherit and how we might strive to make it better. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is José Borjón, the Consul of Mexico here in the state of Utah. And let me just say what a pleasure and an honor is to be here with these strong voices of the Hispanic and Latino, Latinx community, because it is so important that we recognize not only this month, but the imprint and the deep ties that are between Mexico, Utah, and the Latino population. Yes, we have the honor of celebrating tomorrow, and actually, if you're going to join us at Gallivan Center later in the evening, our independence. But let me just remind you that when Mexico became independence, this territory, Utah, was also part of Mexico. So you should also celebrate with us our independence, and you're more than welcome to do that. And the idea here is that our voices are as vibrant as and others, and that we want to contribute to what is being done here in Utah. And that is why it's so important, the leadership that we have here in the state, that we have here in the city, the county, mayor, and all the city council, Anna. And I think it's important because immigrants here in Utah, and Mexican immigrants, are traditionally, historically been here and contributing to the well-being of this great community. So let's give them their voices, as Richard has just said, today and ever, and give them the spaces that they have won. And that is our interest as a consulate, that our community thrives while at the same time they continue having a connection with their home country. And that is why we believe it's so important, declarations like this that can continue in policies throughout the rest of the year. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias a todos por la oportunidad. Soy el cónsul de México, José Borjón, y quiero aprovechar para reconocer el liderazgo que nos acompaña hoy. Creemos que es muy importante que las voces de la comunidad hispana, latina, se escuchen día con día, no solo en el marco del mes de la herencia hispana, pero durante todo el año, y para eso creo que es muy importante que se nos den espacios a la comunidad como el día de hoy. Gracias a todos. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, hola a todo el mundo, ¿cómo estamos? Muchas gracias. Thank you so much to the Suazo Center for inviting me and the mayor for the declaration. For the ones that are watching us today, I feel super welcome right now with all the people here. Not only my leaders in the community that are of color or Hispanic, but the other ones are of color, and the staff and the mayor and everybody here. So I am Ana Valdemoros. I represent Council District 4 in Salt Lake City. And I was asked to talk about a little bit of my heritage and what it means to be a Hispanic woman in Utah. And so my heritage is very important to me. When I came to this country, I came for new opportunities. I brought with me a set of values I believe are important anywhere or for anyone. I'm a small business owner, and I'm glad to serve my community as an elected official, as a woman, and as a proud member of the Hispanic community. To me, being a Hispanic woman in Utah means really knocking on doors and seeing how many more doors open than close. I have discovered there are more of these opportunities than some think. Being a Hispanic woman in Utah means being involved in the community, participating in the civic process, using talents to serve and uplift others. And it also means working hard, relentlessly, persistently, having faith that you will earn your place in our community and you will be able to shine as you bring all of your culture, values, and diversity to the table. It's a table I know that can expand and welcome all. Thank you, Mayor, because that's something that we've talked about a lot. No, it's not easy. It's hard work. There will be struggles and successes. But this is the month we pause as Hispanics and reflect on who we are, what we have done, and what we can do to better our world. So thank you. Feliz Día de la Hispanidad.
Muy buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Oh, let's try that again. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And thank you so much to the Swaziland Center, Mayor Mendenhall, for the invitation to join you. I have such deep privilege of being able to represent our administration, the Cox-Henderson administration today, but not only as my official capacity as Senior Advisor of Equity and Opportunity to Governor Cox and the Director of the Division of Multicultural Affairs, but also as a proud Latina, as a proud immigrant, and someone that gets to call Utah home. So thank you once again for hosting this space and this conversation that acknowledges National Hispanic Heritage Month. So I want to begin by simply acknowledging that it is important for our administration that we take the moment to recognize the vast contributions made by Hispanic and Latinos within the state of Utah and across the nation. We acknowledge that Utah's history cannot be discussed without recognizing the influence of the Hispanic and Latino people within the region. If that's a B, you might hear me scream, so give me just a second. Okay, we're good. Thank you. She loves me. Okay. So they're obviously very excited to celebrate with us. So as we have recognized today through many of the individuals within our panelists that have remarked today about what it means to be Latino, what it means to celebrate and acknowledge Hispanic Heritage Month, we want to acknowledge that there are so much of the Latino community that is contributing to the narrative of success for Utah. We are successful because of the diversity in which makes up Utah. We are successful because of the rich cultures and traditions and heritage that are making up our community, which are not a monolith. We acknowledge that the Latino themselves, they have uniqueness. There is Venezuelans, Colombians, Dominicans, Bolivians. There are so many differences, and yet we are united by foundational thread of our native tongue, nuestra lengua nativa. And so we recognize today that as we celebrate with the many leaders that are taking a moment to say, thank you for being present. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you for being on the front lines. This past year has allowed us to reflect on the resilience of Latino communities in the face of the public crisis of the pandemic. We saw how our promotoras, right? We saw how our promotoras, the ones that were on the front lines, were knocking on doors, many of them who were unpaid, many of them volunteering, many of them taking public transportation to make sure that people knew how to access services that were critical. So again, the resilience, the grit, las ganas de nuestra comunidad showcased this past year. And so today is special, not just because we get to say this next month we're going to acknowledge the brilliance, the value, and the beauty of what it is to be Latino in our state, but also historically. Thank you for acknowledging Consul Borjón. Utah was Mexico, right? And so this is our community. This is an opportunity to say we all belong. This is our thread. This is our home. So I do also want to just acknowledge past and present leaders. I know for me, Archie Archuleta, I raise his name, I praise him, and I acknowledge him. His little suspenders would be right there on the front saying, si se puede, right? So for many of you who may have been blessed to have known Archie Archuleta, he is no longer with us, but he has left an imprint in many of us, just as many other leaders have. And so for many of us who identify as Latino, I also invite us to acknowledge our ancestors that have made us strong and that have made us who we are today. So to our Latino and Hispanic community, our administration thanks you for what you give, for how you contribute, for how you show up, for your presence, for the value and the beauty that you give. And we thank you for adding to the success narrative of why Utah is such a great place to call home. We see you, we honor you, we love you, and we look forward to celebrating this month and every single day for the rich value of the Latino community in our state. Thank you.
Ballet Folklorico.